Hello, my name is Jim Morris, and I want to talk for a few minutes about some of the elements of the book I wrote called Gaslights and Dog Whistles, Standing Up to Facts Over Fiction in a Fearful and Divided World. So let me talk for a couple of minutes about who the book is for. Have you ever, the book is for you if this is true of you. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody has said, you know, we're a post-racial stuff. We're a post-racial society. I can prove that because we elected President Obama. So I don't know why we're continuing to talk about racism as if it's real. It's really on the decline. I don't notice it at all. Or have you ever heard somebody say, well, you know, the struggle for civil rights is there, but the trauma it causes white people to talk about it isn't worth it. We need to stop talking about it because it makes white people feel uncomfortable. And this whole idea of supremacy makes us uncomfortable. So we've got to find other ways of talking about it. Or maybe you've heard somebody say, hey, you know, the 200,000 people that were interned during the beginning of World War II after the invasion of Japan and Pearl Harbor, when we interned over 200,000 Japanese Americans, it wasn't the best thing to do, but, you know, we needed to take some security precautions. It wasn't about race, it was about security. You know, or maybe you've heard some people talking about critical race theory is really just an extension of this idea of replacement theory. The idea of critical race theory is to make white people, be responsible and to make society think it's everything about what's wrong is their fault so that we can replace them with other ethnic minorities. So you may have heard statements like that, or even simpler statements like, if we're really about inclusion, how come we keep on talking about difference? Why do we have to talk about racial differences instead of sameness? All those things are examples of some of the reasons that you might want to pick up the book and see if it's helpful to you. All of those topics are discussed, and we talk about how not only to defend against them, but more importantly, how to have a dialogue with somebody who's claiming these things instead of just going to moral outrage and saying, well, that's ridiculous. You're not very well informed. You need to read more of the facts. That's not going to help at all. What may help is to say, well, tell me more about what you're afraid of. Underneath whatever you're saying, what's the fear you feel? Let's talk about that. And then I'll share with you what my fears are. And maybe through that, we can create a partnership where our differences become valuable. So if you work in corporate America and some of your work is tied to helping the organization become more inclusive, you should probably pick up this book. If you're a chief diversity officer, a CEO, or a C-suite member in a for-profit company in the United States, you probably should pick up this book. If you work for a government agency or a government contractor, and there's talk about whether or not you can talk about critical race theory in your organization, you should probably pick up this book. And for sure, if you're an educator or an education administrator or a parent who's concerned about preserving the ability to talk about our real history of what's happened in this country with our children so that they can learn from our lessons, then you should definitely pick up this book. Thanks.